looking at it without the body, you got a nice little transfer case in the middle with a front motor mount. I really dig how the whole transmission is. It's not too lengthy, it's not too tall, it's not too small. That would be a good thing. But I mean, it's the transmission itself is good size. From what I heard, it uses the same gears as the Savage XS, the Mini Savage. I'm not sure how true that is. I haven't tore it apart yet. But it does come with all metal gears in it. All metal gears in the transmission and in the transfer case. The receiver box, which you kind of can't see underneath all this wiring mess, is pretty standard. Only 3 screws actually hold it in. It does have a rubber seal around it on the inside, so it is watertight. I have a waterproof receiver in there now just in case. But aside from that, the electronics aren't too terrible. The ESC does have an option for drag brake, 80% or 100%. It does have the option for LiPo. It can handle up to a 3-cell. That is definitely a plus. I added these little link risers just to try and make it climb a little bit better. Not that it didn't climb bad before, but I just wanted to improve on it a little bit. These are the stock shocks. They are aluminum shock bodies, which are pretty nice. The only thing that I did with those is I've added a little bit thicker shock oil to kind of slow the bounce down a little bit. It does perform. It actually performs pretty good out of the box. Out of the box, it performs pretty good. Even before I added the shock oil, it did pretty good. I have been impressed with this truck overall so far. So now that we talked about the transmission, the transfer case, and touched on the electronics a little bit, I do still have the stock servo. It's another thing. The ready to run servo, it's not that great, but it does the job. I haven't really put it through serious paces yet. It's kind of just been light crawling. So we'll go underneath the truck and check out the axles. So it does have the metal diff housing, metal diff cover. The only odd thing that I found is I did seem to get hung up on that cover more than I felt I should have. I mean, that could have boiled down to driver error and a few other things, but that was one thing that I did find odd, is I did get caught on the front diff cover when, like, my original SCX-10 stuff would actually slide over it. So there is that. It's really not an issue to not get the truck, because there are a lot of good features on this truck already. It does have the aluminum or metal link mounts, and they're clamped style. They clamp onto the axle housing, which is really nice. You can run just your regular screw through there. It's threaded, so you don't have to do the screw and nut. It does have behind the axle steering, with the steering rod being metal as long as your drag link and panhard bar are all metal, along with the upper link for the front 3-link mount is metal as well. And all these metal goodies are definitely a plus. So aside from all that, the lower links are plastic. I mean, that's kind of not much of a downfall in my opinion, just because of how long these crawlers have been out. Links are so easy to get, they're easy to make, and there's plenty of companies that are going to be coming out with links, I'm sure, for this truck, or there may be links out there that already fit onto this truck. Let's see, what else? It's got plastic rock sliders, the rear bumper, swing away tire rack on here. I did take the spare tire off. I had it mounted on the top of the body just because I thought it looked different than everything else right now. But when I took it out crawling, I just had it bungeed down and it fell off. So the drive shafts do seem to be the same size as like a SCX-10, so I'm sure you can use from output shaft to output shaft a whole SCX-10 drive shaft. So right there you already have aftermarket stuff for the drive shafts. Those are common braking point, I guess you could say. And, the drive shaft going from the transfer case to the transmission is a metal dog bone, so that's nice. You don't have to really worry about that ever breaking. The slipper clutch is actually built into this output shaft, so it is very easy to adjust it without having to take the gear cover off and do all that. As far as gear reduction, I don't know the exact numbers in gear reduction, but I do know that this 35 turn does pretty good. It's just the stock HPI. It will be getting swapped out for a new Team Brood motor soon. I've just been testing it with the stock electronics, the stock stuff, just to see how it does. And then it's going to be upgraded from there, obviously. But I did find once I added the weight and such that there were times that I had to give it more throttle than before. I have not messed around, like I said, I have not messed around with gearing or not though. Most of my trucks, when I do swap out the motor, whether I swap the motor out or not, I normally drop down a tooth or two, just because I feel every ready-to-run motor is not good enough. But most of the time, I'll swap to the Team Brood motors. I haven't had any issues with them. They're good motors. They like to hold up. So that's what I run. And like I said, for swapping out a stock motor to a Brood motor, 9 times out of 10, I'll normally drop down a tooth or two on my pinion, just so I can get a little bit more torque rather than top end. I do like the rear shock tower mount, or body mount. It is not, the whole truck as a whole is not as bulky as it looked in some of the pictures in some of the other online videos that I've watched. When I got it, I've been impressed with it ever since I got it about a week ago. I do like that these body belts, you can pull them from the whole tower and put them inside the regular shock tower to run just about any aftermarket body out there now. But another feature that I kind of dig for stupid reasons is you can take this whole shock off without ever taking your tire off. And while it sounds stupid, it's a feature that I really like. And I don't know why. I really can't explain it, but it's something that's just different. You got your screw down here, and then your shock mount, you actually come in with your screw from the back, and then you can hold your pliers down on the front, and you can take the whole shock off without ever taking the tire off. These are a little bit more simple, just having the wheel nut on them. But if you're into just taking your shocks off and messing around with shock fluid and shock tuning, then it's just one of those features that makes adjusting everything just a little bit quicker. It eliminates one step, even though it is just as simple as taking off one wheel. It's something that I like. The pumpkin on this is a little bit smaller than the regular SCX-10. However, I don't quite think that it's as small as a SCX-10 II. As far as steering angle goes, I mean, like I said, this is stock. I haven't done any mods to it yet. From everything that I've looked at, you can get more steering out of it. I mean, it's just like the SCX-10 Deadbolt and all the ones before it. There's always going to be modifications that you can make to give it more steering. And I know a lot of people have complained or have been worried about parts availability for this vehicle because it is HPI. All I'm going to say on that is give it a chance. In the past, HPI hasn't had the best with their parts availability. They are under new ownership. They are coming back. This truck finally did get released. It's been, 2 years since it was announced. So, I mean, give them a chance. They're already doing some good things with it. There are some parts available out there already online. But, I mean, like I said, it's got metal gears in the transmission. It's got metal gears in the transfer case. Those are things you'd already upgrade on your SCX-10. It's got aluminum shocks. I mean, shocks you can get for just about any vehicle nowadays. And same with links. Most companies are making links nowadays. There's a lot of different companies. D-Links is supposed to be coming out with a set of links specifically for this truck soon. So, I mean, don't be discouraged by the plastic links on this truck. There are a lot of good features about it. It is nowhere near as heavy as the TRX-4. It is not as light as an SCX-10. But it is a good truck. And I mean, with the way that these C-hubs and knuckles are, that's the only thing that ever really breaks on the other trucks. And I mean, honestly, I think that they have metal in all the right places where you shouldn't have too much of an issue there. If you drive smart, then you shouldn't have much of an issue. I mean, it's a crawler. You don't need to put a 3300 kV brushless system in it. But moving on, I think it's a great truck. It's a great trail truck starting out. And not only that, but you can easily get Class 1 legal wheels and tires and make this truck a Class 1 legal truck very easily. Like I said, I have the PBX all-terrains on here, which are 4.09. This truck, I mean, it has full tire coverage. If I wanted to, I can easily run this in a Class 1 comp with the chassis mounted servo, the transfer case, the bumpers, you know, all the other features that it has. It's already got some good scale points to it. And you can always upgrade. Like I said, this is a SCX-10 honcho bumper. I had to do a little bit of work to make it fit in the holes, but aside from that, I'm sure you can make an RC four-wheel drive bumper work with that. I'm sure you can make the SCX-10 sliders work with this, or a Sender axle or Sender sliders work with this. Same with the rear bumper. I mean, part of the fun in working with crawlers or building crawlers is the ability to change and interchange everything from each vehicle. So it's not so much like if you have a Slash, you can only buy parts for a Slash, or if you have a B4.2 old shit, whatever, then you can only get parts for a B4.2 for the most part, you know. But with crawlers, a lot of it kind of interchanges, or is interchangeable. So you can go out and you can get SCX-10 stuff and make it work on a Viterra. You can make it work on an HPI. You can make it work on a Traxxas. Not telling you specifically what will or will not fit, but you can make just about anything work. All it takes is a little bit of thinking sometimes, and just put your mind to it, and sometimes it just takes making it work. I mean, these link risers right here, that's actually a lowering kit for an SCX-10 that I use to make the link risers for the back. It does push out the rock sliders just a little bit, but I wanted to keep the rock sliders, so that was just a downfall, but it doesn't seem to hurt any kind of, doesn't seem to be any kind of hindrance with them being pushed out that little bit. I mean, crawlers are fun, tiny trucks are fun, and everything you can do with them is fun. So that is my review on the HPI Venture. Tiny truck on, people. What the fudge? 10:30.